Hello and welcome to our final Appy Hour of this academic year. We are thrilled to have with us Jamie Vogan today from Woodstock High School. And we're going to learn some new tips and tricks on Microsoft Teams, which is great because we are a team school and we could always use some help.
All right, so we are actually going to go over to a Teams meeting. You have that link in the chat box, and just so we can experience it, and we're going to go through some breakout rooms and just some general ideas on how to use it. So,
okay,
if you would, I'll meet you there.
All righty. All right, my screen recorder is going, so we are joining you back now in Teams.
All right, thank you. All right, in the chat box, I put the 5-minute countdown that we used here, the Baby Yoda one, and there's plenty more where if you just type it in YouTube, you can see that. I also use an ASMR room. So here is one that is, I'll put that in the chat box as well. It's a Harry Potter room, and it's something just to get the kids, motivated and looking, and especially if I'm going to open up a science lesson, then I'll do something that is it might be a like a greenhouse room, something that just kind of gets them started. So generally when I plan some engaging lessons, I do some kind of opener, some kind of roll call, some kind of content, obviously, and then some kind of summarizing strategy. So those are kind of my openers, and we'll do some kind of roll call here. So if you would, in the chat box, I kind of do a question. It might be something simple like for high school, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? But just to get to know you guys, if you will tell me what is your subject of expertise or what classes you teach, if you'll just tell me in the chat box. Oh, nice. We have a wide range. Like it. All right. And then there's another thing I do, and that is just kind of a social emotional check-in. It's good to have when you're completely virtual. So if you guys would tell me today, on a scale of cat, how are you feeling today? So I use these just to obviously to get a check-in, and then I let kids respond however they need, and then go back before I close out the meeting. I go back and take note, and if there's one that they're just getting frustrated, I'll go back and I'll follow up with them later. There's also more of a, I guess, there's this one, and then my personal favorite is on a scale of Shakespeare, how do you feel? So if you type in on a scale of, you'll have all kinds of things pop up. That's a good thing to kind of check in. And this is good just to get students to get in the habit of responding, right? We want them to be involved just from the very get-go. And it's low stress, it's obviously not a whole lot of content, but kind of gets them going. All right, the next thing is I wanted to show you Together Mode. Have you used Together Mode before? Yeah, all right. So if you would turn on your cameras just for the moment, I want to kind of see us all together. And I will turn on. Is it going to let me do it with a few people? Oh, it's got to be 5 or more people. Okay. All right, so it's got to be 5 or more people, but it looks like Ms. Santoro tried it before and had some success with it. So let's see.
Well, I'm number 5, but I'm not showing in the window. I'm down in the bottom right. It's a different experience for me.
All right, here we go. Now it'll let us do it.
I have 6 on my screen.
Yay!
So is that a view we change for ourselves?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, there we go.
So you can say, hey!
I'm not finding the option to see. You do it yourself, I think.
Yeah, go
Right?
to the 3 dots, the kebab up at the top, more actions, and there's a together mode preview option.
Mm-mm.
Now go.
Oh, well, we're having a great time, Lydia. Sorry you're
Well,
left out.
Here, I'll share my screen so at least we can see them and get together. That'll be-
yeah, I don't know why I don't have that option. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
that's what I have.
So you can change the scene down here and edit it around. And obviously it feels like you're in the room together a little bit more because when they're behind a camera, you don't see those nonverbal cues. You don't see them laughing or smiling or like getting it or a complete zone out. So I think this is helpful if you have 5 or more kiddos. All right, so as I'm teaching, I also really love to use Wheel of Names. So Wheel of Names is you just type in wheelofnames.com and you put everybody's names in. And usually you would do this kind of before a breakout room or so Wheel of Names, it's free to use. That way it just kind of randomizes it. You don't have anybody who's like, you always call on me because I feel like I always have my own biases sometimes. And some people tend to answer more than others. So this just makes it a randomized. You can customize it, how long you want the spin to be, what the colors are, etc. All right. All right.
That's interesting. I have an app that does that on my phone.
This gets the students involved. When I teach the ESOL endorsement class, the teachers even were like, hey, it's it. By the end, everyone was like, yeah, it's your turn. Well, let's go. So it makes it a little more interesting. All right. I wanted to show you also some kind of like formative assessments. So I'm going to type in a response here. So in the chat box, I'm going to put in a somewhat controversial thing here, that climate change, I don't know why it's
Can I
green.
interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
So I found out the difference. If you're using it from your app on your desktop, you can do it. But if you're joining from a browser, you cannot
Okay.
do the together mode. So I don't know if you knew that, but I just learned that. I'm sorry.
Thank you for letting me know. I did not know that.
Sure.
All right, that one's better. All right, so if you will hover over this message, you'll see that you have some icons here. So if you think that climate change is a result of anthropogenic, I spelled it incorrectly, anthropogenic human practice, then if you would put a smiley face. And if you think that it is of natural causes, put a thumbs up. And if you're undecided, put a heart. Right, and so this would just be a hover. It's completely anonymous, so no one knows, who's responding. If you want something, of course, more
Is this in
accountable.
the chat? Where are we seeing this?
So this would just be in the chat box and then hovering over.
Okay. So because you're sharing your screen, make sure you're checking your own chat box and not the chat box that's being shared on the screen.
Nice. So I can see just real quickly what everybody as a class, I won't hover over it because you can see, but you can just see very quickly, formative assessment, how are we feeling, where are we, did they get that last concept before I move on? All right, next part is a whiteboard. So I'm actually going to unshare my screen so we can share the white screen together. All right, so now when I share this time, I'm going to select the whiteboard. If you're a fan of whiteboard like I am, you would like this. So when I open up whiteboard, it will ask, do I want everyone to edit or just myself? So I'm going to select that everyone can edit. It does take a little bit to load up.
I'm getting a message that says, for now, only members of this org can participate. Soon you'll be able to too.
Let's see. Oh.
I'm getting the same message.
You're getting the same message? Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably because you're on Cherokee County's instance and we're on Reinhardt's instance.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have, see, on my screen it says other participants can exit or can edit. So, all right. Well, have you used Whiteboard before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then y'all are pros. So you can obviously do some click-it notes, and you can have students usually type in. All right, so the way I use this is sometimes I do some graphic organizers. Sometimes we do mind maps where I'll invite someone to start us off, and then someone will have to kind of piggyback afterwards, and we're going to create this kind of mind map together, or we'll do kind of a compare contrast. All right, let's do. Really wanted to show you PowerPoint Live. For this next one, if you have a phone on you, then that would be great. I'm going to actually do the desktop. Right, so in PowerPoint, I have my subtitles on because always when I do English as a second language, I want to make sure that I'm meeting the needs of all my learners. So I will put subtitles on. You can only choose one at a time. But the great thing about PowerPoint Live is that others can choose their own languages. So you can have multiple languages going as you present in English. So what you'll do is you'll choose from your PowerPoint, you'll choose Present Live. Yeah. Wondering if because I'm presenting it's not going to let me present live. There we go. Okay. So scan the QR code, or you can go to the join the session. So I'm going to scan. Wow. Where's my phone?
I got a warning that I don't have access to this live.
Okay. I was
Live
worried about that because of Cherokee County's firewalls and not letting people in. So, but at least I could show you. So when you do click on this, you have the option to choose any language you would like. So it gives a real-time transcription as you are speaking, then they get a translation on their phones. So I've joined, I'll try to show you. Is my camera on for you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is through PowerPoint Live that you were able to get this QR code and have it work automatically?
Yes. Okay, so I can, like I have it here, I've chosen English to see, but here I can choose a different language, and it does ask you the first time you sign on. So at the very bottom of the screen, you can change any different language, and there's quite a few here. And then you can also have this emoji and react to it. So I'm going to do a heart, and as a presenter, I can see that heart come on the screen, so I know that people are reacting as I am presenting. So I'm going to show my slides. And so you can see that it does kind of choose the subtitles down below, and you can choose many different languages down there. At the very top of here, if anybody loses it, loses connection or wants to come along later, then you can always have them follow along here, and that can even be in English or different languages.
Can you switch the language to Italian?
Yes.
Is this direct transcription?
It is.
Wow.
So the way you do that is you would go to slideshow, and you would say always use subtitles, subtitle language, and then you can choose only Italian.
Cool.
And I can choose to end the session or resume session. So let's say if you didn't want to use PowerPoint Live and you just wanted to, you were just going to do 2 languages. You didn't have to do PowerPoint Live. So I'm going to end the session. And I could just present from here. Let's see if it'll do it. All right, good morning. This is going to start the class of Cultural Issues, Week 8.
Not correct.
It's not correct.
It's not
Right.
correct. Lydia.
Non è corretto.
All right, well, we'll have to work on some translation then. But that
is a really cool feature, though. That is really neat. Even for closed captioning for our students who don't have special language needs, that is fantastic.
I'm disappointed Microsoft sandboxes are so exclusive. I get it, but I would have liked to have tried that out.
All right, so I'm gonna, next thing is I love the breakout rooms. And I guess I can see when you raise your hand, or you can choose raise your hand at the very top. You have your emoticons here. So it's the third one over. It says show participants, conversation, and then you have your emojis here with your raise your hand. So give me, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling a thumbs up, a heart? Let's do some kind of that. All right. Yay. See everybody up. And then you can also raise your hand if you have a question. And so that's kind of a more civilized way, I guess, to kind of raise your hand if you feel it. So if you could raise your hand if you have used breakout rooms before. Okay. All right. So I see 2 have it. So we'll just go through it. All right, so if I want to make breakout rooms, since I'm still sharing my screen, I'll kind of see it from the presenter side. You're going to choose this breakout rooms right here. It'll ask you how many rooms do you need. I'm going to split this into 2. If I want to be selective about this, obviously I can manually add participants. For example, my endorsement class, I know I wanted to pair up elementary, middle, and high school teachers together. Otherwise, it can just be random. And random is very useful to use if you just want participants to talk for about 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. I do want you to notice at the top. I can go ahead and create the room, and I'm not going to move you yet there. At the very top of your breakout rooms, I can, as the instructor, can send you a message. Hey, 30 seconds left. And that just tells people to kind of wrap it up. It is very small at the top, so that's one thing that I wish I've kind of put in the suggestion box for Microsoft, is to have it a little more prevalent. So I'm going to add you to the room. If you would share with the people in your room maybe one thing that you have learned today or learned from Appy Hours as we're wrapping up the session. So maybe one thing that you've learned in this Appy Hour season with your participants. I'm going to put a little note at top and then bring us back together. All right, so I'm going to go here and start rooms. It will automatically take you over and then automatically bring you back when I say close.
Well, here we are.
Hey
How
there.
about that?
Oh,
What I've learned is using Microsoft with outsiders is difficult.
That's correct.
it was very
Can
difficult.
you imagine running a Board of Trustees meeting trying to get them all?
No.
No. Zoom is a much better option when you're trying to do things across, you know, people from different places.
Hey.
Hey, just want
Hi.
to show you how easy it was to pop in,
Okay.
pop out of these rooms, see how you guys are doing, check on you.
Now, can you pop in so that the students can't see you pop in?
That I don't know. I mean, you can definitely come in without your camera and microphone, and some of them don't notice.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought that they were going to do an audio where you could just join the audio, but I don't think that's the case. Let me check. All right, let me go check on the other one.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess you have to have started the meeting yourself to be the meeting owner to do the breakout rooms, because I don't see the same icon
Yes.
on mine. Okay.
Yeah, you have to be the administrator or the.
It has to be your meeting. Yes.
Okay. I did not know that was a new capability. I know it was begged for. When did that come out? Do you know?
I used it maybe at the end of last semester.
Okay.
I
That's
did
good.
use it last semester. I just can't remember when. But I find it a lot easier to use Zoom for this.
I have found students prefer Zoom.
Well, it's not as glitchy.
Yeah.
If you have a larger class, it's much better.
30 seconds to wrap up.
But it's easy to go through Canvas and do Microsoft meetings because they're
Yes,
so
yes.
easy to set up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I go back and forth.
Does seem a little.
We were having a
And we're done.
conversation over here.
All right, and so that pretty much wraps it up, and I just wanted to do some kind of summarizer. So kind of that opening, you know, get them activated, some kind of roll call to get them engaged in the conversation, motivating with content, and doing like a formative kind of check-in with them, and then some kind of summarizing strategy. So summarizing wise, some kind of ticket out the door. I've done a 1-minute brain dump where I time it, put it on the screen, and they just write everything they possibly can, stream of consciousness, put it out there. What did you learn today? Also, I love a good 3-2-1, right? 3 things you learned, 2 things you knew, 1 question you still have, so we can address it later on. And so what we'll do here is we'll just do maybe a 1-minute brain dump, all right? So 1-minute brain dump, everybody go to the chat box. We'll time you now. We'll do a countdown and type anything you've learned from happy hour session. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get it in. All right. All right, guys. Well, what questions do you have for me, if any? All right.
I think we're all reading the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what everyone else has to say. That was distracting to me. I was like, wait a minute, I want to see what they're saying. I think Sean is still working on some of that. Yeah, Sean brought up a good point about distraction in breakout rooms and some of the experiences that we had trying to keep the few times that we have used breakout rooms trying to keep students engaged. And that was an issue I had when my students were quarantining and they were doing a group project and they had to work together. They preferred to talk in the chat instead of talk in the actual breakout room, which was not conducive to accomplishing the task that they were given. And so we were talking about ways that you could kind of try to work around that. Do you have any suggestions on that? Have you dealt with that at all?
Yes, and I think the fact that I will be popping in to check on your progress, and usually it is, some kind of shared collaborative work, whether it's a Google Doc or, a shared document where I can see their updates live. So I think just that accountability is the only success that I've had with that, but yes.
And is there a way to upload documents in the breakout room?
The only way I have found to do it, because I wanted everyone to have a separate whiteboard so that they can share later, and was just to create the link myself and share it in their chat box specifically.
Oh,
And
okay.
that took me going into there, dropping it, and then leaving.
You can do that if you pre-specify channels in your teams. So that's how I was using breakout rooms, is I would create a separate channel called like breakout room. And then if they were quarantining, they would meet in the main team and then go to the breakout room during their class time, which was confusing for some students the first couple of times. But you can upload a document into that channel. So you could do effectively a different wiki document if you wanted to for each channel. And then the students go to their assigned channel. That's another way of going around that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We don't have permission we don't have channels. So that sounds amazing.
Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah, and I've never used channels, so I'll have to look for that.
I've used collaboration in Canvas and put them on their own collaborative document, and then they can get to that document through the breakout room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they can watch while they're working on it, because they're all basically contributing to it. It may not be on the screen, but they can see what they're doing if they put it side by side or whatever. So that's how I've gotten around that.
You could do this thing with a shared document though, right?
Yeah, it's a shared document in the collaborative. Through Canvas, I upload a document. They have shared to it, and they all contribute to it. And then I can go back and see what they've done while they were in the breakout room.
Yeah.
So you use the Microsoft and Canvas, or like you have them working on the Canvas side, but then they're in the Microsoft, or
Yes.
all of it is in Canvas?
It's all in Canvas, but it's a Microsoft document in Canvas.
Okay.
Let's see. I think I can show that. Let's see.
And in this case, I think I just used Zoom because I could put them into their own breakout rooms easier, but I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Do
I
the
get them confused.
collaborations. Tab on the side, and then you can add different collaborations.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
okay.
used collaborations before too.
Yeah, I've never used that.
I like it. I do a lot of case study work where students have to work together in a group, and they're put in the same group for the whole semester. So they have their collaboration groups.
Okay. And you're able to, as the instructor, you're able to go in and see those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You have to assign them to a group first.
Yes, they have to
Okay.
be assigned to a group.
Under people, you can add groups there, and then they will work, unless you change that, they will work in that same group, like every time you do a collaboration.
Hmm.
But you can always go back and change it. You can make as many groups as you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can also do that through Class Notebook.
Yes, you can too.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. I'm just listening because I love the collaboration.
No, this is great. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun to play around with teams. And
I wish someone could tell me when you're teaching how to, I mean, I can see the chat, don't get me wrong, but being able to kind of keep up with what they're saying as I'm teaching, I haven't found how to do that yet. It's like, okay, either I'm looking at the chat and trying to teach. It's one or the other. It's probably just me. I just can't do that at once. It's probably just me because, you know, students will put in the chat and I probably won't see it until they'll say, Dr. Brown, have you looked at the chat? And I go, oh yeah, let me look at but trying to do both,
It's also really hard to do that when you're teaching in a classroom that's also streaming because the chat is too small to see unless you're right up against the screen. And your normal, you know, teaching style has you away from the screen most of the time. So yeah,
Right.
it's tricky. But unless you're right there, I mean, is there a way? Can you change the size of the font in the chat? That's a question I haven't thought to ask before.
I actually assign a student. When I was doing that in genetics in the fall, I was streaming and I had students in front of me and it was on Microsoft Teams. And there would be students at home who were always using the checks. For some reason, their microphone never seemed to work or we couldn't hear them. There was always those issues. And so I often assigned every time we met, I had a student who said, okay, can you be responsible for the chat in case there's a student who's not here that's trying to and they would just speak up in the classroom and say, hey, something just came through the chat, I'll announce it. And then
Okay.
I know when you start presenting, if you choose just PowerPoint, you can go into presentation mode, and then that way you have control over the chat box while you're presenting.
Rid of that. I tried going into the immersive reader and now I can't get out of it. Okay. There.
can you say that one more time? Sorry, I was reading some of those comments. What did you say about the chat again?
If you go into, if you like share screen and you choose just the PowerPoint mode, let's see. I don't know if I can share my screen as I'm sharing PowerPoint, but so I can see right now, I can see the chat box. I can see my next slide coming up. I can see the notes beside it where it's all together.
Yes.
And what did you use to do that?
So when I share screen,
Mm-hmm.
let me see. Will it let me do it? Can you see it now?
Oh, we did for a second.
You did for a second? Can you see it now?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, for a second.
We got a nice sneak peek of it.
Where you can see that where it has, yeah, sneak peek. That's it. But I had the PowerPoint presentation here, the notes right beside it, all my slides down below, and then the chat box going at once. So it's kind of a helpful, but that's the presentation. There's also a grid mode.
So when you choose to share your screen, you choose a PowerPoint presentation from the windows and it gives you that. Okay.
Yes.
See, my go-to is just to share my screen, my entire screen, because I'm usually switching between apps or switching between things.
Yeah.
And it feels clunky to share the PowerPoint, stop presenting, share the Excel, stop presenting, share the PowerPoint, stop presenting. But I didn't know that there were benefits. It just didn't make any sense to me. Well, why would I just share the PowerPoint?
Right.
but there are benefits. You get a different view, and that is good to know.
Sometimes they'll have problems like populating the PowerPoint too. Like I found that out. Like it won't show like maybe all the PowerPoints you have saved. Like I had that issue with a student the other day. So that could be like the only hang up for me in using that. Like, and I prefer to share my entire screen too, but I'm going to play around with that a little bit more.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much. It's always good to get together and play around and learn some new ideas and some new tricks and kind of, wow, I didn't know PowerPoint would translate on the fly, even if it's not that good of a translation. That's pretty slick. That's pretty cool. So thank you for demonstrating these fabulous options that at least I didn't know about, and I'm sure all of us gained something from this presentation, and we sure do appreciate it. Also want to remind you, we do have coming up in June our summer teaching and learning conference. It is Control C, what we learned. That is, what are the things we learned teaching during a pandemic that we really found to be effective and will continue to do even after restrictions are lifted. So we certainly would like to invite you to be a part of that with us. You'll be seeing an email from us shortly. And thank you to everybody for joining in with Appy Hour. It's been a really fantastic set of Appy Hours, and I'm glad we got this rolling in the fall, and I'm glad we were able to get some more and good participation in the spring, and I'm hoping that maybe this can be a regular thing. We'll find a good schedule that works. And I've been really thrilled with all of our presenters and how much I've learned from the process. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again, hopefully, at the Summer Teaching and Learning Conference.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.